All right, so today we're going to be building a table. Now, this isn't your typical table. It has a specific way that we're going to be attaching the legs to the tabletop, and we're going to be using this new tool. It's right over here, and this is something that I have been working on for over 2 years. It is an adjustable jig and mortise and tenon system, and this is actually the kit. If you're interested in getting this, I have a link to my Kickstarter page right below, and if you have any questions about it, feel free to message me. We're going to be using this, and it uses a normal router, and we have specific fastener tenon plates that attach the leg to the tabletop. It has all sorts of cool features that I think you guys are going to really love and enjoy. During this episode, I'm going to show you how to build the tabletop that you see behind me, build the legs, and especially how to attach them in one of the most easiest, strongest ways I believe you can attach a table leg. If that's something you're interested in watching, stick around because we're about to get started. We're going to use a Festool domino joiner to create all the domino holes for joining our boards together for our tabletop. Now, when I first was going to build this project, I was just simply going to glue everything up without using dominoes. However, when I went to go purchase my boards, I noticed that there was some warping and that dominoes were the only way to pull everything together correctly. I spaced the dominoes about every 12 to 14 inches. Next, I put some glue in the holes and inserted the dominoes. Take your time here and evenly spread your glue. When you're building a large tabletop, you need to build the top in sections. I glued several boards together to eventually make 2 halves. Each half is a little under 24 inches. This is to ensure it can be passed through a planer. Make sure you have some good bar clamps laying around. If you don't, I would recommend investing in them. They're really great to have in your shop and can really help out with building tables. I connected them together with dominoes and glue. I then used clamps to pull the 2 halves together. I then used the rest of my clamps to tighten the 2 halves together, alternating the top and bottom. I then let the glue cure overnight. After you remove the clamps, you're going to want to sand the center joint. After you sand the top of your table, you're going to need to square off your ends using a track saw. Once you've squared off the ends of your table, you're going to need to sand all the burn marks using an edge sander. I have an attachment for my Festool that allows me to sand a perfect 90 degrees. I would recommend using something like this if you don't have one. It'll ensure that everything stays perfectly square and true. One of the most affordable ways to build a table leg is to use a different material than what the rest of your table is made out of. Now, my table is made out of white oak, and I want my legs to be white oak as well. But there is no need to make a solid table leg out of white oak. You can do it much cheaper and much more affordable by swapping out the core of the table leg with a cheaper material. In this case, I'm using poplar. Now, I pre-bought this from my favorite lumber store, Owl Lumber, and it is already planed and joined, and it's perfectly true all the way around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a veneer on that, and these veneers are white oak veneers that I cut using a bandsaw. And then I planed one side so it's perfectly smooth, and the other side is rough, and that's okay because we're going to be gluing the smooth side to the core of the poplar. And then once everything is dried, we are going to then put this through a planer and plane all the sides down to the same thickness. Now, the most important thing about this project is the glue up. So let me show you the best way to glue these veneers so that everything is glued up correctly. When you cut veneers for table legs, you have to cut two widths. This is the inside width of the veneer that I'm cutting now. Next, you're going to cut the outside width veneer. This is a little bit wider to cover the lip of the other veneer that you're going to be attaching. This will make sense in just a minute. What's really important is that your veneer lines up. This is cut from the same piece. You can see here how the two edges join together, giving you the illusion that it's one solid piece of wood. Now, remember, the inside veneer will need to be shorter, and your outside veneer will need to cover that lip. When you glue your veneers, be sure to apply a lot of glue. Be generous here. You want to make sure that everything is spread out evenly and that glue covers every aspect of your wood. This will ensure that you have a proper glue up when you clamp everything together. We're going to glue the inside veneers first. Make sure you use a lot of clamps and let everything dry overnight. Next, you're going to have to trim down your inside veneers. You can use a planer or a joiner to do this. This will provide you a smooth surface for attaching your outside veneer. To attach the outside veneer, you simply just repeat the same process that you did for the inside veneer. Don't be afraid of using a lot of clamps. You don't want any gaps to show. The final step was to square up my table legs. I don't have a joiner, so I had to go over to a buddy of mine where he was able to join them for me. After I joined all my table legs, I took them over to my miter saw to cut them to the correct lengths. Now we have all the pieces we need to assemble our table. It looks really great. I just finished making my tabletop, and now it's time to create the shallow mortises using my adjustable jig and mortise and tenon system. I'm going to go grab my jig kit. I'm going to show you what's inside of it and how to use it. All right, let me show you what's in the kit. We have an adjustable jig. This adjusts up to 3 different sizes, 4x4, 5x5, and 6x6. And that's to accommodate the 3 different size fastener tenon plates that we have available. It comes with a self-centering bit, and this is for attaching the tenon to the table leg, and I'll show you how that works later. You also get a pattern bit. Now this pattern bit is a 1/4 inch, and depending on what kit you select, you can either get the 1/4 inch kit or the 1/8 inch kit. And basically we just swap this out for the 1/8 inch pattern bit or the 1/4 inch pattern bit, and that's because you can either use the lightweight tenon fasteners, which are 1/8 inch thick, or you can order the thicker plates that are 1/4 inch. So let me take this jig out and show you how we're going to create our first mortise. You first want to index the jig on the edge of your table. Make sure you set it to the proper tenon size. Next, you're going to use some screws to secure the jig to the tabletop. Then, use your plunge router and place it inside the jig and plunge down and start routing out your mortise in a circular pattern. Once you've routed out your mortise, remove the 2 screws. Then, remove the jig. Next, we're going to attach the tenon to the table leg. You will need to use the jig to properly index the tenon to the table leg. Make sure you have a clamp available to hold the jig in place. Next, place your tenon against the jig. Then use the self-centering bit to drill 2 holes in the micro adjustment slots. Next, screw in 2 pan head screws. Make sure to tighten slightly. Remove the clamp and jig. The micro adjustment hole allows the plate or the fastener to move independent of your table leg. This allows you to properly align and index the table leg to the edge of the table, making micro adjustments as needed. Once you've adjusted your leg, lock in your adjustment by tightening the 2 pan head screws. Next, use the self-centering bit for the holes that are going to be attaching your leg. Then, insert your screws. And then remove your 2 pan head screws. If you want extra support, you can always install a very large screw in the center. I installed 3-inch screws in the remaining holes. Now that we've attached the tenon, it's now time to place it in the mortise. To secure the tenon in the mortise, you will first need to use your self-centering bit to drill some pilot holes. Then, you will insert your screws and tighten them down. Once you've attached all your legs, you'll want to apply your wood finish. For my table, I'm using the Osmo Polyx Oil. This is the 3051 Raw Matte Finish. To apply the finish, I'm using the extra fine synthetic finishing pad. Before you apply your oil, make sure you mix it thoroughly. A lot goes a long way. Use your finishing pad to spread out the oil across the table. You will rub and buff the oil into the wood till the white disappears. If there's any excess white or oil remaining on the table, wipe it off with a microfiber towel. After everything dried, I put it inside my house, and wow, this table looks awesome. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Post in the comments below, ask me any questions, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. Alright guys, till next time, I'll see you later.